Interesting.
You're welcome.
Let's talk about 3D filmmaking, because that's been a big storyline in movies this year. Are you guys fans of the current 3D? I mean, do you like 3D as a movie-going experience, not as movie makers, but as moviegoers?
Honestly, I'm totally into it. I love it. I really think the technology is really good. It kind of puts you in the space. It doesn't give me a big headache. And I think that it's being done so much now that we're past the eat the pancake, sort of poke things at the screen era of 3D, and you can just sort of, it just adds a little something. There are definitely movies where, that shouldn't be in 3D. I don't know, like Cabin in the Woods, or... although I was watching Once Upon a Time in the West, I was like, well, this might be okay in 3D. It's all about space.
The thing that drives me crazy about 3D, though, is when you put the glasses on, everything just gets dim. Like, it all feels a little sort of gray and muted, and I feel like I want to see the vibrant, I want to see the movie, and I feel like you get into it, but for me, it always has that, my brain adjusts to it after a while, but it always has that those first few minutes are always like, oh wow, this seems like less than, the experience, like an IMAX experience to me, which is my favorite kind of experience, and it's so, immersive, but the 3D thing for me, I'm not totally on board yet, but I'm sure it's too late for me.
I mean, as storytellers, are there any opportunities are you writing the 3D in any way in your current projects? Are you writing to 3D with 3D in mind?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I'm not. There's definitely no. And then the sharp thing comes right at him. The thing is, if you're making an action movie, 3D. It lends itself to that anyway. Things are going to come at the screen. Things are going to, you're going to want to get that sense of space. You're going to want to get that sense of where they are and how they're coming at each other. It's going to be that kind of experience anyway. It's going to work in 2D. The movie has to work in 2D. Most people will see it that way. So you just you'll take it into account ultimately when you're framing. But I don't think it doesn't really change the way I shoot. There are a few things you want. A sort of a sense of, depth of field where you get, that you get with the shorter lenses or wider lenses. I like those anyway. You don't cut as much because, that's the idol, but I like that anyway. We want things to be coming at people so it's exciting. I also like that. So it hasn't changed anything except it's going to make it harder to shoot.
Years ago, I was in New York and I was kind of a little sick, and it was late at night, and I turned the TV on, I wasn't feeling very well, and I was switching the channels, and this movie came on. It was about a bunch of young adults, and they were acting really weird, and they were really scared about something, but it kept doing weird jump cuts, and I had no idea what they were scared of, and then they would offer someone something, they'd be like, here, do you want some food? And they push it right out, and the person was like, sure, thanks, and they take it, it's like, what the hell, and there was they were talking about these romantic scenes that didn't exist. And I realized it was Friday the 13th 3D with no 3D, no violence, no sex. Everything was going out. And it was actually better.
Joss, can you talk a little bit about, you mentioned Cabin in the Woods. Yeah, and can you talk a little bit about why the 3D kind of conversion came about, and when are we going to see this movie?
I'll answer the second question first. The fate of the studio that has the movie is in flux. Therefore, they've put James Bond on hold, and I don't think we come before him. So, we really don't know what. The film is finished. The 3D thing came because they looked at the schedule and said, oh my God, every horror movie is going to be 3D. Forever for the next few years, and so we should convert it now. That, by the way, may still happen. But Drew shot something very specifically in, a classical mode. He went away from, really in your face and tried to keep things sort of, he was studying John Carpenter and really keep the suspense and make it almost a little old-fashioned. So what we're hoping to do is be the only horror movie when we come out that's not in 3D, so that we can advertise 2D. You believe things can move across the screen. Down in the woods, it's painterly. It's going to be, to revolutionize the industry.
Last question about 3D for you guys, which is, do you think that this is just a fad, or do you think it's kind of really changing the way we're going to see movies? It's changing the way maybe that like young kids going to movies are what they expect from film. I mean, is it here to stay? Do you think?
I have no idea.
You have no idea.
I really don't. I mean, my guess is that it will continue. The equipment will be there. The technology will get better. It will continue. Not everything will be made in 3D, but a lot will. I have no idea.
I think it's. I don't think it's a fad. And I do think it is kind of extraordinarily immersive when it works. But everything is always going to be built for a zillion different platforms, and many of them are simply not going to be 3D. So it's going to be there, but it's not going to like take over completely. You know, watch it 3 years from now, like